Hello, folks. This is Lance, looking rather light. I'm just going to turn this light out. Turn that out. Oh, it looks a little more dramatic that way. Hey, I wanted to talk to you about, I'll turn the light on. What's going on with President Trump and this Epstein thing. I really have been bothered by it. And, you know, those of us that are not in the, that are Christians, let's put it that way, that actually watch and pray, I have a whole different philosophy about this than all of the almost feeding frenzy going on. I mean, I just watched Turning Point and Steve Bannon with Tucker and Jack Posobiec, and they're all, I mean, especially Steve's having, it's like a meltdown. I don't know. I think I love Steve, and I watch him every day, you know, and I consider him a friend. But man, you know, ever since him and Tucker and those guys went after Israel and Elon Musk, it's almost like there's this, there's a spirituality that I want you guys to start to appreciate that makes a distinction between a conservative that's warring for America and the tendency to get sucked in destructively into obsessions and war, a constant war rhetoric, like, you know, fighting. The statement that, you know, concerned me today is that the MAGA base has got to all go out full tilt on demanding that Donald Trump do this or do that. And here's the situation. We all have to be suspicious about, you know, what's going on with the Epstein file. If it's, why is this thing being shut down so quickly? Why is it not being dealt with? And to the base, our people, we have a real feeling like, hey, this is the elites again, gaming the system, controlling it, and there are people that are guilty of doing stuff and child sex trafficking, etc. And why is this being covered up? We don't think that Epstein killed himself. We think he was killed. We think that this is, once again, it's a test case for how the insider, powerful elites are able to get away with stuff. Well, President Trump's response, which is kind of an emotional, you know, just, you know, brain dump. He just did in Truth Social, if you haven't read it. And he says something that's kind of cryptic, but he doesn't play games like that. He says what he's thinking. But the cryptic part is when he's saying, what about the MLK files? And what about JFK? What he's saying is, what I heard recently has been confirmed, that Oswald, in spite of the Warren Commission report and all of that data that came out, you know, the intelligence agencies write the reports, and now we find out that we can't trust them because evidently Oswald was on the payroll of the FBI right up until the assassination point, or he was on the payroll of the CIA or something. You guys go check it out. But he was, a CIA operative. And so he was a patsy that was set up to do the shooting and then get killed. I mean, that wild, you know, barroom narrative that someone will tell you actually is sounding like, it sounds like they covered up an internal assassination of JFK. And the feeling is that now that we have Trump's, 1 year ago, as of yesterday, I guess, the Butler assassination attempt, and that, you know, the whole house was scrubbed clean with no data. They closed the file on it. The kid had like 3 cell phones. Who has 3 cell phones at 19 years of age with foreign, you know, contacts on it? So it looks like he was also, there was some kind of internal setup there going on. Nobody's satisfied that that wasn't another effort by the deep state to take out Donald Trump. And Trump making the comment regarding the Epstein files that, you know, we still got MLK and JFK files. We got stuff we don't know. What he's saying is that the Southern District of New York and the FBI, with Clapper and Comey and Brennan, all conspiring with the Obama administration to set up the fake Russia hoax thing with the Steele dossier, which all got, you know, put into a format like the Warren Commission with the documentation to make it all look like a legitimate concern. You remember the 51 intelligence agencies that signed up on the laptop being Russian disinformation? Well, what they do is they create Comey in that era. They can create a paper trail. And Brennan, who's now in the crosshairs, is so interesting. He's in the crosshairs now being prosecuted, and now something's coming out, which I think was something he planted. It's quite possible that the intelligence services had monkeyed with the entire, the listing and the files in order to plant in evidence. Perhaps there are high-profile people on the left that are implicated, and I think that they put Trump into the file. And I think that's what Elon Musk was referring to. He said he spoke out of order because he implied that there was something Trump had done, but in fact, Trump's name probably is in somewhere in those files. And this could be another one of those situations where Trump is looking at this and saying, I've gone through this once before. Now, this is just, we're wargaming here, what is possible. It could be that he doesn't want that file coming out because there's going to be innocent people. There's whistleblowers in there. There's people that are informing. But there's also, perhaps, I've also heard that he's concerned that it could be such a disruption to capital markets. It could be people in there whose names are in there. Like, remember Alan Dershowitz's name was in there, and he fought and had to clear his name. And he's saying everybody should do what I did. Just go ahead, lawyer up, and, it may take a year and it may be ugly, but you ought to go in, like I did. And, if your name's there on the Lolita Express, then verify that you were at Starbucks, at the time when they're saying you did something, and you were in New York, not in an island, which is what he did. But I've heard say that, there's a concern that there could be total collapse, market impact with some of the names that are on there that would be implicated. So, and then Trump himself, if his name is on that file, and he's innocent, but he doesn't want to go through another crossfire hurricane where they have to, go through an investigation, and he has to go in and provide documentation of, he was there in the 90s. I think it was, 15, 20 years ago, he took Epstein off the list of people that could even visit Mar-a-Lago. But maybe he came to the discovery of who Epstein was and didn't like it. But maybe he was, maybe he's got something he's worried about from 1989 or 1990, partying down there. I don't know. But what he's acting like someone who knows that this is a setup that he's trying to avoid the trap of having to go into. The fact that Jamie Raskin and other guys that are Democrats that are lunatic, homicidal about destroying Trump are now saying, no, we got to get it. We have to get the files. The Democrats smell disunity. The blood is in the water with MAGA, because in the oversimplification of the way that the MAGA base is looking at this, they see it as deep state covering for itself and Trump not exposing it. I think the only reason why Trump would not go down on exposing it is because he sees that it's going to try to entangle him. And in entangling him, imagine that going to midterms. Then going to midterms, and then you've got trials in the New York Times, and you got the deep state. Remember what Schumer said? They got 100 ways from Sunday to kill you. And all the people that are wrapped around with Comey and with Brennan, and these guys are like the deep state, dangerous guys, the mafia. They're all going to start to, leak out this and leak out that. And we lived with that with Russiagate. We had 20 months of the United States paralyzed because of Perkins Coie, the law firm that was working with Hillary Clinton, and Steele and the fake dossier and doctored FISA warrants. And all that happens all over again. And then if for some reason the midterms becomes a casualty of war, and the Democrats are able to take power in Congress, the investigation is going to go into the front page on Trump and whatever the cover-up is and all this stuff. And then he's, impeached because of this or other reasons. What I'm suggesting to you is Trump sees that, and he sees that his battle right now in trying to get this economy to get enough lift to be able to get out of a collapse. He's still working on that, while he's trying to, hold off China and try to keep Russia from expanding its war games into Europe. He's working on the deporting of 1 million this year illegals, and ICE agents are now their left wing is literally writing and saying that they're gonna go for blood in the streets. They're really anarchists, and they're willing to go start setting up assassinations of policemen, as you've seen happening in random incidents where a guy sets up something burning in a field and then he's shooting at people, firemen and ICE agents, etc., are in the crosshairs of this. The anarchy machine, the people that would go to civil war on the left, that would be the first people to be nutty enough to go. You just had a shooting in a school, in a church this past week. These people are dangerous, and Trump is saying, I've got fish to fry that are serious, and that is just. I'm getting bumped off the air here. Sorry, people. I must be saying something, getting people concerned, getting interrupted here in the broadcast. But what I'm saying is that I've never seen the president so wanting to, move on from something that is so important to the base. But, Bannon and Charlie Kirk now and Posobiec and these guys that do social media, and they basically live in such close proximity to news cycles and the chattering of the media, social media world, that they're going to be putting pressure on this, that we can't close this. We need to, because they're falsely framing it. This is my point, as a prophetic intercessor, you might say. I think they're falsely framing it as Trump is missing the opportunity to establish his credibility and keep his trust with his people. And, he needs to fire Pam. Pam Bondi's not the problem. We're knuckleheads sometimes. I mean, we turn on our own. Pam Bondi's not the problem. Matt Gaetz was his first choice, and he had personal problems that disqualified him. Pam Bondi's doing her job very efficiently. She didn't close this case without instructions from Donald Trump. Donald Trump basically said close it. Now we know Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. They kind of, everybody who's reading body language says that they don't look like they're very convincing when they say that there's nothing to see here. The files, no files. Well, it's not a file. It's hundreds of files of FBI field reports. But the problem is they've been messed with, and who knows what's there from Brennan and Clapper and Comey, who themselves are now coming up. And one can't help but wonder if this isn't like the trap that was set so that they're ready to spring this in order to distract the public and send the news cycle into a frenzy and cause the base to be all up in arms about who is Trump and what has he done and what's he covering. But I think he's trying to avoid that whole crossfire hurricane 2.0. So here's what I'm saying. Ironic that on the day of his assassination, survival, he gets another bullet. Just catch this. This is the second bullet. This one is called character assassination. And the way that he's handling it is allowing his base to turn on him with a kind of stupid feeding frenzy that comes out of a misguided sense of oversimplifying a complex situation. I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep this thing from opening up into an opportunity for a crossfire hurricane 2.0 and the intelligence community to start to feed resources and assets and observations and video clips and tapes and pictures that can be made to look as though Trump's one of the Epstein pedophiles, which I don't think is true. I know it's not true. Trump's iniquities were always with older women, and then he dealt with that 10 years before he decided to run for office. And that was a personal decision he made because he didn't like that part of his playboy billionaire lifestyle. And he became a great man. And I think he doesn't want to have to go backwards into the 90s or whatever and be subject to a risque expose that his enemies will use to falsely make him look like he's one of the elites covering his tracks. And I think he could see that. He could see the mess they want to make for him. Now, I don't know if there's anything in there that they have that has anything that could be used in substance from the 80s or 90s regarding him. But I could tell you that it looks to me like he's surveying that and saying, that's just a giant manure bag right there. When that opens up, it's going to redefine the news cycle. It's going to open up arteries that are going to be destructive for a whole lot of what he wants to be able to accomplish. And that's my take on it. I think that it's not Pam Bondi. So talking about changing her and putting Judge Janine Perino, I mean, Megyn Kelly's saying that these people are not reading this right. They're taking all this moral outrage over the over Epstein, and they're saying that Trump needs to expose that. And I don't think they understand how that has been set up to attack him. And that's the reason why I think Elon tipped it off, that somehow he got wind of that, and that's been planted there. It's been planted there by the same people that, as he said, think of Oswald and think of MLK. These people are dangerous. They're shrewd. They're serpentine. They're scorpions. He's surrounded by them at a great depth within the FBI, within the CIA, within the various agencies. He knows it, and he's trying to keep from giving them the sword that they will gore him with, because the media will certainly use it, and all the self-righteous wackos on the left would be glad to be able to tarnish Donald Trump in some way with this scandal. See what I'm saying? So I'm just war gaming it out, and I'm thinking it through, and I'm saying, why is he saying move on from this? This isn't where you want to go. And I think it's because he knows how dangerous those people are, and how they've had, from Obama to today, to monkey with data files, to plant stuff, to create false leads, to listen, he's been in court. He survived 700 years in prison, and they got that nut job lady that said that he assaulted her in a ladies' room, where he couldn't even defend himself because there was no video proof that it was even in the department store, but she said it. So he paid $90 million in damages in New York. That would wipe out anybody else. You have to be a billionaire to survive that. They do wipe you out. They put Bannon in prison. They put Navarro in prison. They're on their way. They bankrupted Giuliani. They destroyed him, and I think they want to put him in jail. So he knows what he's up against. And he's saying, don't put me in the kill box with that Epstein file. And I think that, like I said, 1 year after the assassination attempt, second bullet just got shot. I pray that he's able to dodge it. Now, apparently, the moral outrage of all of the MAGA base demanding that this file be opened, they may end up getting exactly what they want. And in that case, they will help destroy, the focus, the momentum, and the power of the presidency right at the time when we need him most, because in their zeal without knowledge, they're setting him up for what the intelligence services have. And they probably have a whole bunch of information in there that they want to keep quiet too. Now, what about the Mossad thing, working with the CIA? Well, it might be true. They might have their Brennans and Clappers and Comeys over there. They certainly got them in Beijing. They got them in North Korea. They have them in Moscow. I mean, come on, boys and girls. We're dealing with fallen mankind and sinners all over the place, dealing with the highest levels of demonic temptation, power, money, and imagine what kind of pathological mental state you're in to be in the top of those leagues. So I heard one guy say that if you're really at the highest level of those organizations, you put your own mother in a wood chipper if they got in the way. And so, they were saying that cynically, but these are FBI guys saying there's a certain state of mind in these people. And I believe it. And so the Warren Commission will truth be ever known, falsified documents, false trails, they just blew the brains out of a president in broad daylight. That's these people. And I think they would be willing to plant information, evidence, and create false trails and all kinds of booby traps. They're capable. This is what they do. They're almost like demonically inspired at the craft that they're in. And Trump says, "Don't put me into the butler box again." And that's, I think, what he's trying to say. That's my take on it. So I don't think he's hiding. I think he's trying to avoid something. And Now, the other thing is that he doesn't look at social media like you and me. He's not listening to War Room and Charlie Kirk, and he's looking at the New York Times and Washington Post and MSNBC, CNBC, and he's watching OAN and Newsmax, and this story has not been covered by them up until now. And the only reason they're covering it now is blood is in the water, because his base, his ardent, loyal, ideologic followers are saying, open the files, because they're mistakenly thinking this is the deep state that he's somehow naively protecting. He isn't. He's protecting himself, and he's protecting his movement. I don't think I'm wrong. The only reason I'm telling you this now is I didn't jump on the air. I had people writing to me right away say, hey, Lance, everybody, go quick, talk about Epstein. Talk about Epstein. You know what? I don't talk about, they didn't talk about the vaccine until later. I cannot bring myself into the public arena. I mean, I have the pressure every day of doing shows and doing news or doing Flashpoint. But I voluntarily, this kind of a deep dive, this kind of an Alex Jones rant type thing, I don't do it unless I feel convicted to do it, and unless I feel like I've got something to say and worth saying. So, I'm telling you, I believe that the president has ordered shutting this down because it's designed to go after him, and he knows it. And he doesn't want to have to go into that slime pit and deal with what the intelligence community's got in there. He doesn't trust them, and he's insulated himself from them, and his movement, Steve Bannon and these guys, and their fury, their anti-Israel obsession, their anti-Russia, their Ukraine, their foreign wars obsession, and sure, if someone comes out that says that the Mossad and the CIA were working with Epstein, that he was actually a government agent, and that his whole company, maybe it was fictitious, maybe the multi-billion-dollar fund thing was actually not legit, maybe it was all kind of like a ruse in order to create the honey trap, where you bring people in, and maybe that information was useful to Comey, and maybe he was using it in certain ways to pressure certain things that the agencies needed. I guess maybe we'll find out. But then imagine the anti-Semitism, the anti-Israel. The next time that we have to deal with the uranium that has been discovered in Iran, and if our team, if our Tuckers and Steve Bannons and our people are erroneously separate from all this stuff, we might be painting ourselves into the wrong box. And without Trump there to exercise that kind of almost providential hand of God on him, strategic insight and instincts, to not have him there, to hobble your own captain in the middle of the battle is a stupid strategy. That's my thinking. And you understand? So I'll read your comments, and we're all gonna mature in this. We're all gonna learn more, but I don't think I'm that far off. I don't think I am at all. You know why? Because I don't spend all my time trying to make money blathering about stuff on social media. I'm not overly fixated on the crusade to annihilate my enemies and government, etc. I'm interested in saving America, and I think people are under the power of the devil. I guess what I'm saying is the fact that I'm removed from this thing and I'm an intercessor for this administration. I pray for this president. And I think that does give you a little bit more sensitivity in your gut down here when you say, oh man, he's feeling it right now, because his own people are setting him up for the trap that they set for him in the event that this ever got out. In other words, it's going to hurt the left, it's going to hurt the deep state, it's going to hurt the CIA, it's going to hurt the agencies, but they plan on hurting Trump when that happens, and they've set it up that way. Mark my words, that's what he's thinking of. Because, like I said, I don't make a living off of just running my mouth to get clickbait. I'm not selling anything right now either. No commercials. I'm just saying, this is just me to you. All right? Share this for no other reason, just so we can all be informed. And we're going to pray together. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus, you'll put such a peace and just a wisdom into President Trump right now, that, Lord, if there is a way to navigate and thread this needle, I pray that you'll show him what needs to be done. And I pray that there'll be a calming oil, almost like a sovereign hand on the Bonginos and Cash Patels and Bondis and others, that they'll have a sense of great discerning, wisdom, discretion, and how they handle this. Lord, I don't know what will come from this, but we look to you. Our eyes are on you. We thank you for the grace that's on America. We pray that you would grant to us an extension of time for recovering this country, for the sake of the nations, that we can go into other nations. There'll be greater peace and stability in the world, that there might be windows of opportunity for nations to become stronger Christian nations where the freedom of the gospel can go forth. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, brethren. Hate to leave you with 1,000 people live, but like I said, I'm not doing this for views. I'm doing it just to share my heart. If you just came on, go watch the opening. It's only a 15-minute message. The title of this is Why Donald Trump is under great pain right now in what to do with the Epstein situation, because it's the second assassin's bullet, and this one's aiming for his presidency